Welcome to Heralds of War. I'm your host Clint, and joining me, as always, is my co-host Trav.
Hey, how you going?
Good, good. It is now February in
It is indeed somehow. I don't know.
2026. Yes.
Yeah, it's I don't know what happened to January. It just disappeared. We're in February now. Haven't really achieved much this year yet, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah. So tonight, this is the second episode that we've recorded. In a relatively regular fashion.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're
for first time in a
upping the
while.
tempo for quite a while there. Yeah, no, it's yeah, 2 episodes in 2 months is it 2 months? I don't know. Is it 2 episodes? It's like more than
It'll
two
be
months.
2 months by the time this comes out.
Yeah, there you go. 2 episodes in 2 months. Look at that. That's breakneck speed by recent comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. Positively, yeah, super acceleration of episodes.
Yep. Before you know it, there'll be a daily drop to watch.
No, no, thank you. I have better things to do with my time.
And, a job and a family.
Yeah, those two, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So tonight we're going to talk about, a couple of things, but they mainly center around Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yeah. This is my game of choice at the recent 2026 Cancon. Um, Kept me entertained for 2 days and mostly out of trouble, so it was good.
Yep. So we'll talk briefly about your games because I don't know how big of an MCP crossover our audience is. Maybe it'll be bigger after this, but
I think there's actually a fair crossover, or at least there's a fair few people that have made the jump between the two because two of my players at the event were ex Age of Sigmar players, and there was at least another half dozen, probably off the top of my head, wandering around.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So we'll talk about your games, and then I want to sort of pick your brain. We'll see if the format works for what I have in mind, but just basically, I want to pick your brain about the differences in the hobby side of the two games. So AOS or GW games in general, and then painting and assembly models and stuff like that from another manufacturer.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of where we'll talk about there. But first of all, let's cover off the hobby that we've been doing in the past month or so. Did you want to go first? Talk about
Yeah,
the run up
sure.
to Cancun?
Yeah, I think as I said last time, it was a bit of a sort of mad scramble for me to get my what are they called? Gang, group, roster, team. I I don't know. You can tell I don't really know as much as probably more hardcore MCP players do. But I basically was paying my 10 strong roster for Marvel Crisis Protocol or MCP, and yeah, so pretty much got all that knocked out. Didn't. I probably could have done more on the models, but got them done. They were fine for the day. Um, probably could have spent another few days on them, going back and doing a bunch of little details and stuff. But um, in the end, just because it was so hot leading up to the event as well, I just didn't feel like sitting down and painting basically. So
Yep.
yeah, I know you have that experience as well. So I sort of probably ran out of time a little bit in the end, but I got them done. They look pretty good. So and they certainly served their purpose on the weekend. So yeah, no issues there. That was my main hobby, and then I've also been carrying on with. I don't know, does it count as hobby pushing play on the 3D printer over and over again to try and churn out some Necromunda terrain? I think I mentioned
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
Let's go
sure,
with that.
sure. In that case, I did a whole lot of that as well. A lot of hobby in that space, but I know I mentioned this last episode. It's about 5 months away now, which is good. Got a little. She's less than that, 4.5 months. Yes, got a week long uh, uh, supposedly for the Soccer World Cup, but really just so that we can all go and hang out at a high house and play games and stuff. Yeah, got that coming up. So got some Necromunda terrain to pump out before then, which will be interesting. And based on how much I've printed, and I might try and snag a photo of it later, is going to be a lot of work. That's all right. Should
I
be good.
I, I think I think terrain though, like you can cheat a lot and make it look good.
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure. Yeah,
yeah, like different rattle cans and different sorts of things that you can basically. It's like, oh, I've got all this terrain. Oh, I've got 3 rattle cans, and then all of a sudden it looks so much better.
yeah,
And then
and
a dry brush in.
particularly for Necromunda as well. It's not like it's going to be, you know, highly polished, finely crafted buildings. It's Necromunda. Everything's falling apart by definition, right? So, it doesn't really matter if it's got a bit of dry brushing here and there, and just smash some random metal colors on a few pieces, and away you go. Like it'll be fine. So yeah, it should be good. It's just it's quite a volume of terrain that I have produced at this point in time.
That
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
I've often thought that it'd be cool to play Mordheim or Necromunda or something like that, and gone, but it's such a dense table
It
of
is.
terrain and
It
stuff like
is.
that. Yeah, you have to have
Yeah.
that buy-in.
Yeah, and the game is infinitely better with more terrain.
Mm.
So like just before Christmas last year, when I went down to Melbourne, we just had like a one off, just random game, just to none of us had really played well in probably decades. So we just sort of busted out some models in the rulebook and just had a go, just to sort of refresh ourselves with how it works. And we had some terrain, like a few pieces that we managed to pull together, but we could have probably honestly doubled the amount of terrain on the table, and it would have been so much better. Because you want to have super dense stuff. So there's a lot to it. I'll get a photo of my current pile later on. But for anyone who knows anything about 3D printing, because I'm printing it all in resin, I
Oh
have
Jesus. Okay.
yes, I have just opened my ninth 1 liter bottle of resin. Actually, no,
Okay.
I've just used my ninth 1 liter bottle of resin.
Okay. So
So
this is going to be quite the chunky, like quite heavy table then.
uh, yeah, it's not too bad in weight wise. I mean, it's definitely heavier than like a PLA type table.
Mm.
But it's not too bad weight wise. It's all hollowed out, so that's fine. But there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I see. I'd envisioned you having like a print farm of FDM printers, just smashing out terrain because that's
Nope.
what I did for events. So, um, yeah, okay, wow, that's that's impressive. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
washing and
It's
lots
getting
of
there.
curing and lots of yeah.
Yeah, I've got a really good I got a rhythm going where basically I go out at night because my printers are out in the garage. Again, for anyone who knows anything about it, you really don't want them in the house. Not good. But so they're out in the garage, and being resin, obviously it's all set with UV light. So if you open them up just casually out in the sun, congratulations, you've just like flashed your entire resin supply. But anyway, so I've got them out there. So I go out each night once the sun's down, cycle all three printers over, bring the stuff in, wash it off. Wash it off with the alcohol and stuff out there. Bring it in, then wash it under warm soapy water, and then go back out, plug the thumb drives back in, and push play, and then go back 24 hours later, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I imagine you being you, well, you just said you have 3 printers going. You also probably are buying isopropyl alcohol by the tanker. Like,
Yeah, I bought a 20 liter drum of it.
yep,
And I've used about 2/3 of it so far, so I probably need to order another one soon, actually.
fair enough.
Yeah.
And your own private sun for setting it all too.
Oh well, the next day, so after it's washed, I just leave them out. I just leave all the pieces out on the deck, just under cover, so they don't get like rained on or anything. Not that there's been any rain, but like I just leave them out there. I just let them cure in the sun. I don't bother using a curing machine. I just leave them out in the sun, not direct sunlight, but enough. Leave them out there for 24 hours, and they're completely cured. So yeah, it's good.
Okay, I didn't realize that was enough.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because everyone's always got like wash and cure machines and this hood and this does this and whatever. I
Yeah,
didn't realize you
I
could
do
just
have
sort
a
of
wash
put
and
them
cure machine.
outside.
Yeah, I do have a wash and cure machine, but given how much I'm printing, I would have to like reset the curing cycle like four or five times,
Yeah,
and I ain't got time for that. And I'm sure there's someone who's going to be sitting there going, "Well, actually," and they're going to pull up something that says, "No, no, you should use it. It's UV light. Sun has UV light. It'll be fine."
yeah.
So far,
It,
I have had
it,
zero issues.
yeah, it'll be 99% as effective as the thing, and yeah, that
Yeah,
1%. Yeah, right. Okay.
yeah,
I, I, I would love a resin printer, but also at the same time, it scares me because I know just how much stuff I would print, and
yeah.
it also sounds like such a faff.
Look, they're really good. Um, like in terms of being able to churn stuff out. And I'll sure get some extra photos as well, some close up of some individual stuff. Like the stuff it prints out is really cool, and I think it's great. This whole false belief that I've got a 3D printer, I'm just going to push go, and now I've got an army is complete garbage. Um, there is a lot of cleanup work. There is a lot of tidying up, like the models. So even after you clean them, cure them, and like remove all the I remove the supports before I clean them and cure them. But even once you've removed all the supports, there's still cleanup to do on the models. It's just as much work as getting rid of mold lines or like the points, the contact points where it's on the sprue. If you're just talking about a standard like plastic GW model, it is just as much cleanup work. And the first two steps involve, well, first two steps should involve, whether or not you choose to is up to you. User beware. A respirator and gloves and a lot of disposable stuff because the resin is toxic. The chemicals are toxic. You don't want to breathe it. That's why it's out in the garage. So yeah, to suggest that it's just haha, I push go and I've got an army is complete fallacy. There's a lot
Yeah,
to it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm fully aware that the 3D printing an army and super quickly and easily and GW cries is a bit of a fallacy. But anyway,
Yeah.
cool. So you've been very busy.
Yeah. Yes, I have. So anyway, after that unexpected shallow dive into the world of 3D printing, what have you been up to, Clint?
So I've been very busy as well, and I'm trying to think about what I talked about last time, and I think I just kind of did a summary of my projects for the year. Um, so since we last talked, I know that we covered off. I sort of spoke in vague terms about painting some Soulblight stuff. So I painted up Prince Vordry for Michael and Gemma from the Failed Charge. Painted up Vordry, I painted up the Endless Spells, and I painted up the Terrain. So basically, they've got a Soulblight army that large parts of it once upon a time used to be mine. So basically bringing it up to scratch with the newer book with the terrain and the manifestations and stuff, and a nice shiny Vordry. So that was quite an interesting paint actually, Vordry, because he's quite intimidating.
Yeah, nice. He's quite a. I actually saw the model at Cancon. Funnily
Yeah,
enough, I'd never seen it, in person, sort of thing. Yeah, it's quite intense, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot to it and a lot of funny angles and stuff to deal with.
yeah. It took me a while to start it because just staring at this dragon, going, I don't know where to start. It's that kind of blank model syndrome where you're just like, I don't
Mm.
know where to start on this whole model. And then just, yeah. The dragon itself took the longest. I managed to paint Vordry in a day or two. Like, he was just super simple. I don't know. He just sort of, I think once I got over the not fear, but the hesitation with the dragon and finally got that done, um, I yeah, managed to smash Vordry out pretty quickly, and I was actually super happy with the way his face came out. It was just kind of trying some different stuff with some different colors for the vampire skin using. There's a color that brought out for Idneth, and
Mm.
it is when I find it.
Iron Rack.
No,
I think it's called. No.
deepkin flesh. It's the
Ah,
layer.
okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a flesh color, kind of with a slight green tint to it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I did that, and I washed it with some Magos purple, and then some Pallid Witch flesh highlights, and I was actually super happy with how the face came out.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice. Yeah. It's a good color, that one, for that sort of off flesh. Like, it's flesh, but there's something wrong with it.
yeah, and I've gone back and forth on using it again on my current project, which I will get to at the end of my hobby talk. But I think I kind of I'll save it as my sort of vampire flesh recipe, and my unnatural flesh recipe, and so I painted those. I've also painted. I can't remember if I talked about them last episode. I have a couple of commissions sort of I'm working on slash starting or prepping. So I've got Emperor's Children for someone. Gosh, there's a lot of models in that. I think there's like 40 of the normal Marines and 20 noise Marines and
Okay.
dozen.
All right.
Yeah, a dozen characters. By the time there's all the different types of characters, there was about a dozen of them, and 2 rhinos, and so I did 10 of the normal Marines, whatever they are, tormentors or something like that. And then I did the 2 rhinos just because I wanted to get them out of the way. They're in sort of like a purpley pinky color with like a light blue as the trim color, as the accent color. So it's quite a bright scheme. And then the sort of pop glow color is that Tesseract glow, the green. So
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
it's quite offensive to the sensibilities as far as color coordination goes.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how they should be, right? They're all like really like glarish, sort of out there. Like, they're not just, hey ho, here's my black armor sort of thing. Like, yeah, they're always
Well,
meant to be super colourful.
well, they can be. The official scheme is sort of black and pink, and it's kind of it's fairly muted in its thing. But yeah, there's some alternatives. I'm really happy with it, with the scheme, and the chap I'm painting them for is too. So just slowly working my way through them, just doing a bunch of models in between different things.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
Trying to cycle stuff is my difficulty at the moment. Ramping up to a Bretonian army commission starting soon. Just been building that when it's too hot to paint, because obviously you're in Canberra. You've had lots of high 30-degree days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in Toowoomba, we haven't had as many, but it's been more humid. And also, my hobby room is in a garage, so
Yeah.
so it's been hitting high 30s to 40s a bit too often for me to enjoy. And basically, yeah, as soon as the sun hits the roller doors, because it's western facing, it's like, cool, well, that's paint time done.
Yep, that's that done. Yep.
That's that done. I'll go build some models somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, so I've been building the Bretonians while that's been happening, and then working on my 2026 AOS project, which we sort of
nice.
alluded to at the end of last episode. But yeah, so it's basically Cities of Sigmar, using all the things that are going to get Legends out the next time they get a book. So it's sort of like a Monster Hunters, Jungle Raiders kind of Dark Elf army. It's an idea I've kicked about for a while, had a couple of false starts on. Actually have put the foot down and bought it and built it all now. So I've been building Corsairs out of the Dark Elf Blood Bowl team and Corsair bits. I've built chariots out of different Seraphon kits. I've been converting Fleet Masters out of Drukhari kits from 40k. and I got my hands on. Do you remember the Mistweaver character that was in like the first Warhammer Quest box after AOS came out?
Like Mistweaver Sai or Say or
Yeah,
whatever her name is. Yeah, yeah. The one that's sort of like leaping on a pile of smoke.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, yep.
Found one of her in a box, and gave her a different head, so she's my sorceress. And I've built a Luminarch using using a Bastillodon and some Luminarch bits, and yeah, so just kind of going to town on that. Built some executioners using Corsair bits, and um, once upon a time, I think I had a different idea, and my friend Dan from the UK sent me a load of Shadow Warrior heads, like 20 of them, and they've sat in my bits
Oh,
box.
nice.
Yeah, they've sat in my bits box for ages. Like, I'd hazard a guess it's probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, okay.
And
Just a while then.
just a while, because I'm like, I had a project at the time, and then I must have gone cold on it, because that's just how I roll. Uh, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, how can I build some executioners? Because I had all the Corsair bodies, and I bought executioner arm bits off a bit site, because bugger buying 2 whole boxes just for arms. Well, I say that I didn't have a definite use for the rest of the kit, so I didn't buy the box.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because like they're fairly fancy models. The executioner blackguard actual models, the big capes and stuff like that. There's only so much I could have built from them. So yeah, I'm like, oh, what can I use for heads? I used the Shadow Warrior heads, and it worked really well. So
Yeah, okay.
and converting a Dark Elf Dreadlord on Black Dragon out of the Ionis Cryptborn Dragon. You know, that one that everybody else is turning into a Chaos Dragon.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Me
uh,
included, yeah.
yeah. So basically got that kit. I think I'd asked you, how flexible is it? Can I take the dragon off the base? And yeah, as you said, the dragon is pretty much separate. It holds onto a little bits of rock, and that's about it.
Yep. It's really easy to separate the two.
Yeah, so I put the call out online to get some different bits of Warcry terrain that GW no longer sell now that I want it. Like there's like a Starfire pylon, which is like a big arc, Seraphon arc statue pillar thing that would have been really cool to mount him on. That I couldn't get a hold of, couldn't find one for love nor money.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. It would have been huge. Like, he would have been so tall, but it also would have been really cool. So if you're listening and you have one of those, we'll pay good money and I can just make another base. It's fine. But I took the sort of Chaos Arch that the kit comes with, and because there's sort of like the stone arch, and then the Chaos bit goes in underneath, like it glues in underneath. So I just didn't do that. And I filled the rock in, and I had some of like the hangy moss vine stuff from inside the Luminarch, not the Luminarch, the Loon Shrine.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but yeah.
Yeah, so that you got the big moon, and then there's the cave, and inside the cave you're meant to have like hangy vine stuff that I've just never put in because I've converted all mine up.
Yeah.
And so I had that. I'm like, cool, that will literally sit exactly over where I want it to under this thing and just give that some bulk. And I had
that's cool.
And I had a bunch of other Seraphon bits and pieces, little plates and whatnot that I put over where the Chaos spikes were on the top. And I've got a bunch of the barbed bracken kits and the creeping vines that GW do, which are also now apparently out of production.
Oh, okay.
I know that people still have them, stores still have them. So I've just kind of been like, okay, well, how many do I think I need for this army? And buying an extra box more than I think. So I'll have vines and bracken and stuff to wrap around it as well. So it'll look like it's a bit of Seraphon rubble, essentially, that this dragon's perched on. and I removed the Stormcast details as much as I could off the dragon. So the big face on the chest, I basically scraped and ground that off.
Yep.
The shoulder plates that it has on its forelimbs, I filled those where those go in with green stuff and tried to make those look like scales. And then I have some dark elf bits off their dragon kit that sit pretty much exactly over the top of that.
Okay.
So I've gone in and I haven't just put a dark elf on the dragon. I've kind of gone in and carved off Stormcast things and put dark elf stuff in. I couldn't quite get the saddle to work how I wanted, but I chopped the more egregious Stormcast stuff off of it, and there's like a little banner pole that's going to go on the back of that for that's a dark elf symbol on the top, and so it'll be dark elfy, like yeah. It's the effort's been made. So he's in sub assemblies waiting for me to paint him, and I think you was the one who suggested I paint it white.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that. Yeah, just something out there.
Yeah,
sort of
which is funny because it's a black dragon on the war scroll, so that'll be a bit of a subversion of that. And lots of bright colors in the army. It's going to be sort of a blue and orange. It was going to be orange and blue, but it's so much work painting orange on armor plates.
Yeah.
When I did the Gloomspite Gits and all those spiders in orange, I was able to basically just airbrush the orange base coat on all the spiders.
Yeah.
I'd be painting so much. I'd just basically be painting the model orange and then going back and filling everything else in and hoping I didn't go back over the orange if I did it orange plates. So the orange will be the sort of secondary color for like the skins and corsair cloaks and things like that. So yeah. Anyway, I have talked quite a lot about hobby. So like I said, I've been doing a bit.
Yeah, just a couple of projects on the go there. Yep.
Yeah, yep. If I don't do hobby, I get sad.
We better keep doing hobby then.
Sorry?
Better keep doing hobby then.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just getting a bit real for a moment, but it is definitely noticeable when I haven't been hobbying my mood and stress levels. Yeah. Cool. So that's hobby. Games played. I haven't played anything. You've just been playing MCP.
Yeah. So I just played the games at Cancon there, which I won't dive into right now, but we get to that shortly. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I haven't played anything. No Middle Earth, no AOS, nothing at the moment. Look, I think I've done something weird with my cities armies. I've glued all the models onto the bases, so I can actually play with them before they're finished. So I might actually get a practice game in or two.
That's not your normal approach.
I know. Just doing different things. Just trying different techniques like gluing models to bases.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. That's right out there.
I know. There's still a lot going on with the bases. They're just, yeah. Anyway. Cool. Well, let's just draw a line under that bit of the podcast / vidcast. I don't know what those video ones are called.
I don't know. The YouTubes.
Yep. Talk show, Sigma talk show, whatever it is. I don't know.
Someone knows the official term. Please let us know.
Yes, please. The thing where I put up a photo slideshow and then our little animated avatars do the talking for us.
Yep.
So, yep. Cool. Well, let's draw a line under that and move on to the second part, which is let's talk about some Marvel stuff.
Yeah, we should probably have a little chat about that, eh?
Righto. So, talk to us about Cancon, how we can do a comparison a couple of different ways. So, what's different about a Marvel event, say, than to say a Sigma event?
So obviously, I mean, in terms of like you turn up, you play games against six random people. Like nothing terribly, you know, out the ordinary there. So yeah, it's all at Cancon. We're actually about 10 meters away from the, or probably more than that, probably about 20 meters away from the Age of Sigma guys. So we're all in the one building there. So it's technically not just a Marvel Crisis Protocol event. It is, but it isn't because they have the whole collection of uh, AMG stuff there. So as Asmodee games. There's Shatterpoint and Legion and whatever the other games are they have. I don't know. There's probably others. Sorry to anyone who plays the other game. I just don't know them. So there's sort of the whole thing there. And the systems, I guess, a little bit more prescribed. Like Age of Sigma obviously has the here's match play, go forth sort of system. Whereas they're a little bit more. They have like a proper tournament format, I guess, that you're meant to use. And there's variations within it, but so we were playing sort of basically just Swiss within that. So it's just they rank players one to however many and draw and away you go. So pretty straightforward.
Yep.
There was, from memory, I think someone at one point told me so that they had 80 tickets available. They sold all 80 tickets, and I believe there was 72 who actually like arrived and made it up, turned up for the event.
That's pretty good. That's your 10%.
Yeah,
Seems to be the magic number.
Yeah, 10%. Pretty good. Apparently, it can tend to be a little bit higher from what I've been told. Again, this is also from my vast tournament experience of 2 tournaments. Apparently, it can tend to be a little bit higher just because reasons. I don't really know why. So the person running it seemed to be very happy that they had their 72 players. It was really cool.
Yep.
The other thing, I guess, that changes, and part of that running a quote unquote official, or was part of a official like AMG sort of events thing, like in that combined area, is that the event itself is quite directly supported by the makers of the game. So
Fancy that.
every round, like as you start the round, the TOs walk around and hand out. So a little bit of background, I guess. I'll take a slight step back. So if you don't know MCP, you have a roster. It's all based on Marvel, and I mean everything in Marvel. So don't limit yourself just to what's appeared in the movie. There's 200 and something odd characters available, so it's everything Marvel related. So that can be Avengers, everything from the cinematic universe stuff, X-Men, and then a whole bunch of other random stuff as well that you go like, who the hell is that? And half the time I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, but sure.
Was it a comic in the 80s or something
like
that?
Yeah, so it's all comic book based. So there's lots of stuff in there. And then there's also other weird stuff. There's like literally like Mephisto, like as in the devil, and all sorts of strange stuff. So there's some weird stuff in there. And I'm like, sure, yeah. And they were in the books at various points in the comic books, and that's fine. I'm not a huge comic book person. I don't read them. It's not my shtick. So sort of my familiarity, people will probably get annoyed about this, probably extends about as far as the movies go, because I can sit down and turn my brain off for a bit and watch one of them and have a bit of a laugh. But the full scope of what you're coming up against is really more comic book based. Now, when you ride an army, you don't have like a points value per se. You have to put 10 people or 10 characters in your roster. And then each character has, I guess it's effectively a points value, but it's called power level. And that's usually somewhere between sort of 2, 3, 4 is pretty common. And then you get some of the bigger ones that push up to sort of 7, 8 or whatever. And then when you go through the game setup, you basically you will end up playing a game with a power level and a scenario somewhere between, say, 15 and 20. And then you have to pick characters from your 10 that fit that points value.
Yep.
So each round, there isn't a set scenario. So as part of your roster, you've got your 10 characters, and then you've also got to pick five. There's two types of missions. So one is a secure, where you're trying to secure an objective, but basically an objective that doesn't move. And then you've got an extract, which is an objective that can move. And basically, you have your five of each type that you prefer, and your opponent has their five of each type they prefer. You roll some dice. Someone gets to pick basically, and you'll play effectively two scenarios in each game. So in each game, you're playing one extract and one secure. So there'll be somewhere in the vicinity of usually about 6 to sort of 4 to 8 objective points on the board. Some of them can move, some of them can't. So you've got to basically, if you're playing seriously, have a roster that's good at a variety of different scenarios, because you don't go into it like in a lot of AOS events to be like, ooh, what are the scenarios we're playing? What are the 6 known scenarios, sort of thing. You don't know. You know which scenarios are in your hand, but you don't know what's going to be in your opponent's hand. So you have to kind of try and design an army list to fit essentially every possibility at an unknown power level or points value for each round, and then you get to piece together your roster as you go. Now, I do none of that, and basically I said to my kids, hey, I'm going to go play that game again. What characters should I take? But I don't want to use the ones I used last year. And then my children picked the Guardians of the Galaxy, so I was the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have any sort of. So a lot of the time, people will have like a particular affiliation. So like, Asgard or whatever, or Avengers, and then I'll have like people usually refer to as like a splash character. So it'll be like Asgard, and by the way, I also have, I don't know, something totally unexpected. I don't know, like Asgard, but I also have Thanos or something silly like that, and that happens. Yep. It's Marvel. You get past it because everything that could ever possibly has happened has apparently happened in some obscure offshoot comic book somewhere. So yeah, you just move on and forget about that if you have concerns about breaking from the law or whatever.
Yeah, well, canon doesn't seem to be a thing because everything is canon in some
correct.
way, in some offshoot, in some alternate universe.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that's the basic setup for it. It's, as I said, it's pretty. What's the word? Yeah. So there's a lot of variation in it. And there's definitely some sort of rock paper scissors type stuff going on. Like there are certain characters that are really good at killing other characters, things like that, that you put together. So yeah, I had my roster of 10. It's only 10 models, so there's a very vastly different hobby requirement there. And as I was saying, so the event was quite well supported by the makers of the game. So in each round, you would have you have like cards that represent your special team abilities and things like that. So that the TOs will walk around, and basically the makers of the game will send out like, for anyone familiar with like collector's card, like foiled cards, ones that have like the shiny silver artwork and stuff. It's common in like Pokemon and pretty much every other trading game. They'll have like special variations of that or unique artworks, and they'll just hand out everyone, here's a unique variation of this card, sort of thing. So you get just for rocking up for each round, you get like cool little prize support stuff, which is really cool. And then there's a lot of official sort of prize support merchandise as well, that's up for grabs across the weekend. Cancon has changed a little bit in the last couple of years. So they have this like prize ticket thing now, where you can, instead of having like normal prize support, you can just like, I'm assuming it's at the TO's discretion, actually not 100% certain, but you'll get prize tickets. So like Best Painted got like 100 prize tickets, which is basically $100, but you have to go down to the vendors at the event and spend it there, and they'll accept it as cash, basically.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, look, positives and negatives. Positives, yeah, cool. It means you get to pick something that you're more likely to need. Like if the prize is a battle force that or a spearhead box or whatever from Age of Sigmar, and you're like, well, I don't really have any interest in that faction. I mean, yeah, you can sell it and move on, sort of thing. Great. The downside is, my personal opinion, I think the vendor state of Cancon has deteriorated the last couple of years. A lot of the big companies actually aren't even there anymore. So the main vendor that was there, that accepted the prize tickets, because not everyone does.
Mm.
This honestly feels like a garage sale of, here's our stock we want to get rid of. There is one smaller vendor there that always has Marvel stuff, which is where basically everyone just rushes to spend their stuff because they're playing Marvel. Let's get some new characters. That's cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So positives and negatives. I don't. I think the prize ticket concept is good. It just needs to be. You just need to be able to spend it on something that is worthwhile. Like I know last year, Adam, former host of the podcast, he had some prize tickets, and because you're going down there late on the last day, a lot of the good stuff's been sold.
Yeah.
Um,
Or packed up, or
yeah,
yeah.
I remember like we were wandering around. He's like, I, I don't want to spend my prize tickets, but you can't just take them away. They're effectively cash that's only good at one location. And I think he bought like a jigsaw puzzle and some yo-yos and stuff to give to the kids, like, which is, it's fine. Like, I'd probably do the same, to be honest. I'd probably buy a board game to play with kids, but it can be, I guess, a little bit not great. But yeah, that's a CanCon thing though. That's not a MCP event thing. Yeah, but that's basically it. Rocked up, had our 72 people, drew out random selection of people to play each other in round one, and away we go.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk briefly about your games? Just I don't know, the person that you played and what
Yep.
they had, and I don't know, some dot points about that game rather
Yeah, I
than
can go through
get too
it.
into the weeds. Yeah.
Yeah, so I foolishly, there's a website they use to manage the event, that apparently everyone uses for MCP, and it doesn't actually have your player's name, like the name of your opponent. So unless I wrote it down, or knew the person, I'm probably not going to remember. I've got this other weird name instead that is their username on the website. So I don't know all of my opponents' names, but I know most of them. So first up, and funnily you should mention was there any crossover between Age of Sigmar and NCP? My round one was against Brogan.
Ah,
So yeah,
Brogan of D3 Mortal Wounds, the
yep,
friendliest club in AOS,
yep,
and probably MCP as well.
yep. So the D3 Mortal Wounds guys were there. So Brogan and I were on one table, and literally the next table over, two other D3 Mortal Wounds players were playing against each other. Yeah, there was a fair crossover between the two. So Brogan had, so my list, as I said, was Guardians of the Galaxy, and because it was selected by my children, and they're mostly just familiar with stuff they see in like Lego Avengers and whatever.
Yep.
It was basically just straight up all the Guardians of the Galaxy. So Star Lord, Nebula, Gamora. The only ones you probably wouldn't know, Rocket, Groot, Drax, and all that. The only ones you probably wouldn't know, and I think you'd only know if you were into the comics, is a character called Nova, and another one called Angela. They are quote unquote Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're also other stuff and a little bit more obscure. So I
Fair
had
enough.
mine. Brogan had X-Men. So his X-Men was led by Charles Xavier, Professor X himself. And then he also had, I think, Rogue, Iceman, and Shadowcat, which is like this, I don't know, little stealthy, annoying person who I couldn't shoot. And Magic is another character. And as I said, some of these names I know, some of these names I do not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was his list. We had a really good game. me having not played since last CanCon, this was very much a little bit of a refresh my memory in how this works. And it's one good thing about the game. It's actually really simple to know the mechanics of it. There's really only
Okay. Yep.
like half a dozen, I would argue, like just simple steps you need to follow, and then everything else just comes down to your character. So you look at you've got a little A5 size sort of character card that goes with each of your characters, and that defines what their attacks are and their superpowers, they call them, and stuff like that. So it's really simple to get back into. So within like, I don't know, a turn and a half of playing that game on Brogan, I was completely back into it. Like I knew what I was doing with stuff. I mean, some weird interactions pop up every now and then, just like everything else. But mechanically, it is really easy to get your head around and to fall back into, which is great. Yeah, so we had a game. Ended up losing that one, which I did not find surprising, because I haven't played, and so for me it was still a little bit of a learning curve. Um, it was good. I rolled stupidly well in my first two turns, and poor Brogan was just getting absolutely thumped. But then it sort of evened out, and the fact that he knew what he was doing came to the fore then, and he won it on victory points. So that was really good. But it was a good game, and Brogan is always a fantastic opponent. So yeah, I was happy to draw that out on game one. So yeah.
Is it? I forgive me if you've literally just said this, but um, does it use just general D6 or does it?
No. So the whole thing is done with an eight-sided dice that doesn't have numbers on it at all. So the dice. Oh God, I have to remember what's on it now. So it's an eight-sided dice that has a bunch of different symbols on it. So there's, I think it's two blanks, which obviously are nothing and bad. There's a little shield, which is like a defense symbol.
Yep.
There's a little explosion, which I guess is like a hit. Then there's an explosion with an exclamation mark in it, which is like a crit. And then there's a little swirly icon thing, which is what's called a wild. And that usually means some strange stuff is going to happen. And a lot of abilities will be like, roll this many dice, and if one of them is a wild, this other effect also happens, or you teleport your character, or whatever. So that's usually strange happening sort of things. And then there's also a skull, and skulls are bad for everyone involved.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's eight-sided dice. So just give you an example. So like you might have a character that is, say, actually, let me just grab one of my character cards. Except where did I put them? I put them somewhere intelligent. That's a nice change. So I have, what's the first character who is actually in my roster that I can find in my pile here? Okay, Gamora. So Gamora, everyone will hopefully be familiar with who Gamora is. So from the movies and several others, the green one, daughter of Thanos, etc. So she has a health statistic, so health statistic of 6, a movement value, which is either small, medium, or long. She's a long. A size value, most humans are about a 2. Then something called a threat level, which is basically their points, I guess. She has 4. And then there's 3 types of resistances, so physical, energy, and mystical. It's all pretty straightforward. So physical, get punched by Hulk, you're getting physically attacked. Energy, lasers and stuff like that. And then mystical is like your Professor X, like psychic attack, things like that. Then she's got 2 attacks. So 2 different attack options. So one, and they've all got unique names and stuff. So she's got one that's called Godslayer. And basically it's range 2. And its strength is 6. So basically, when you attack with this, you roll 6 of those 8-sided dice, and hopefully you get a whole bunch of hits and crits and stuff like that. And then she's got, and that's doesn't cost anything to use that ability. So it's what the game refers to, or I don't know if it's actually in the rulebook or if this is just the terminology that people use. But it's what's called a builder, so it builds your power, and then you have a spender. which costs power. So you have to kind of build power, spend power. And generally speaking, you gain power when you get damaged as well. So your characters take a little while to ramp up. If you take a beating, but they don't sort of finish you off, it's pretty dangerous for your opponent because generally means they can spend a bunch of stuff. And then below all of that, you have superpowers and stuff as well. So she has an ability to leap, and then she has an ability that helps her defend against attacks. And then, I just realised she has an ability I forgot about all weekend. That was annoying. Now that I'm actually reading the card, funny that.
Oh no! Oh
Yeah.
no!
So she's just got like a passive buff that lets her modify dice, and then she's got an ability called stealth. So you have to be within a certain range to see her, to attack her. So you can't just shoot her from super long range. Fortunately, all of these cards are available for free to download and print off off their website. So we can just chuck one of those pictures up now, and that'd be good. But yeah, so basically you've got your card, and that's a bit, I guess, that explains all of your abilities. Outside of that, like I said, that's sort of maybe 6 to 8 core functions of the game. Now, I guess the downside to that is that, and the people who obviously play the game a lot know a lot of the cards and sort of have a pretty good understanding of what everyone does. I know none of the cards. I know not even my own, as we've just proven, because I realised I have an extra ability. But yeah, so it's pretty lightweight, I would say, in terms of rules. And as I said, like, you can literally just download all of the cards and everything off the website, print them to your heart's content, away you go. So everything's just freely available, which is another big difference from iOS, obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I like that it's freely available. That's always very good.
Yeah. So that was round one. So loss on that one. Didn't expect it. Still a great game. No problems there. Round two, I was playing against a person named, I think his name's Sandy. He was I don't actually know how old he is. He was like 10 or 11 or something. So it was a young fella playing.
Kid.
Yeah. He had what's called the Midnight Suns. So the Midnight Suns are like Moon Knight. So he had the series on Ghost Rider, Blade, Iron Fist, something called Man Thing. There's a bunch of stuff that's only been in comics, but basically that's sort of, I guess, grittier side of it a little bit, which is pretty cool.
I actually do know Man Thing because a painted model came across my feed on Instagram on that, and I actually saved it because it was such a sweet looking model. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool model, and then I had to do some digging to find out what it was. I'm like, oh, it's Marvel. Right. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, that now Cancon, for anyone who's been there, it is really loud in some of those buildings. They're giant metal sheds. I couldn't hear anything that Sandy was saying. Being a small child, I just couldn't hear him even when I went and stood on his side of the table. So I honestly had no idea what was happening half the time. Wasn't an amazing game, and I did sort of, because Sandy's dad was there as well. So I said afterwards, like, yeah, I get it. He's a small person, but if you're going to sort of be in this kind of environment, he's going to have to talk to his opponent and not just do stuff and expect me to keep up, because I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it was fine. It is what it is. But yeah, I lost on that one, mainly because I couldn't roll very well. But lost on that one. Yeah, it needed a bigger voice, but that's all. So yeah, it was okay. Round three. Now, if I am your round three opponent, I apologise immensely. I don't actually have your name written down. So I have your player name, which is Bingus. I'm sure that's not your actual name, but Bingus. And Bingus had... I actually don't know what his affiliation is. I wrote down X-Men before, but that can't be right because he doesn't... I have no idea what the affiliation is, but it's a weird mixture of characters. So there's Black Widow, Captain America, or two types of Captain America, because there's Captain America Sam Wilson and Captain America Steve Rogers. And that's the other weird thing with the game is there's variations of characters. So there's like 4 versions of Iron Man, and strange stuff like that happens.
Yeah, right.
Hulk, Iron Man, Miss Marvel from the show series again, Cable, who has appeared, I believe, in Deadpool, Shang-Chi, Luke Cage, and the Black Panther. So a real mix of
I
stuff.
know some of those.
Yeah, a real mix of stuff. It's a good game. I just couldn't beat his army. Basically, what it boiled down to is it was a real mixture of stuff that was obviously picked to work really well together. My army, as I said, or my team was picked by my children. So, he obviously had the stuff to get the job done, and I was just trying to go up against it. Didn't really work out for me, but it was still a great game. We had fun and beat up a couple of his characters, and I think it was, who did I take out? I can't remember. I think Shang-Chi, he just kept rolling disgustingly well with his defense rolls and pulled out a bunch of those shields and stuff. And I eventually annihilated him with a massive attack. It was kind of funny, but yeah, should have been dead long before then. So it was round 3, so I lost that one as well. So far I was on 3 losses, 0 wins, so I was definitely on track. Nothing has changed from Age of Sigmar there.
Yep,
and
excellent.
then, yeah.
Do the Heralds proud.
Yeah, exactly. And then game 4, who was against another one of the D3 Mortal Wounds guys. He had the Brotherhood of Mutants, which is, I guess, the counterpart to X-Men. So he had, who did he have? He had Quicksilver, which is, well, he's been cast in a couple of different ways, but the X-Men Quicksilver, I guess. It's not the Quicksilver from the Avengers movies. It's a bit strange. So yeah, he had Quicksilver. He had Juggernaut and Magneto, and Pyro, I think, was his other one, who's a fire guy from something, X-Men something or other. So yeah, those 4. Magneto is really tough, is what this boils down to. I could not get through Magneto. He is really hard to kill, and if you don't have the right character to go after him, he is just really hard to kill. And I didn't have the right character available to go after him. So yeah, I lost that one as well. I think it was close from memory, but do we have the round results on this website? I don't know. Anyway, it was a close game from memory. It was good. We had fun, and I just couldn't knock old Magneto off. So that ended day 1 for me. I was 4-0. So yep, as I said, doing the Heralds proud, and went and had a burger.
I think you mean 0-4.
0-4, whatever. 0-4, 0-4. Went out for a burger at some random place we found in Dixon. It was really nice. That night with a couple of the guys who were there. Not from, well, technically yes, from MCP. I went with Adam, again, former host of the podcast, and another one of our mutual friends who came up from Melbourne for something completely unrelated to what we were doing. So we went and had dinner, called it a night, and that was it.
Yeah, cool.
Day 2. Day 2, my opponent was first round, or 5th round, I guess, was a guy named Pedro. I actually have no idea what his affiliation is. So there's a couple of weird affiliations in MCP where you, rather than being affiliated, you, like being X-Men or Avengers or whatever, you take a card that makes you a particular affiliation. I think I actually honestly don't know how this works. But the short version was his leader was Mephisto, Lord of Temptation, who is literally like a devil. I had no idea what he's in. I'm assuming he's in a comic book somewhere. And then he had the Immortal Hulk, and Black Widow and Spider-Man. So a real mixed match of stuff that, yes, that's a mixed match of stuff. Sure.
That just sounds painful.
Yeah.
Figure out.
Yeah, it was hard to figure out. The Immortal Hulk is really hard to deal with. I sort of half killed him, but did quite finish him off. Like I said, that's really dangerous. Um, and then yeah, he had a bunch of power to go and do what he wishes and trashed half my team in a turn. So I ended up losing that one as well, which was yeah, just another tough list to get through. They're all really tanky characters, unfortunately. And then round 6, I was back to playing ex AOS players.
Hi.
Mr. Dave Hurley, who also a Canberra local, who used to frequent the Age of Sigmar scene. So I played against his Agents of Shield this, so good old Nick Fury leading the charge. With there was an Iron Man, Invincible Iron Man, which, as I said, there's like 4 variations of him.
It just sounds mean. Like you've got Invincible Iron Man, Immortal Hulk. Like, how are you meant to beat those things?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, in this case, I actually did beat them, which was good. He had Namor, who's from the second Black Panther movie, who's like the guy with the weird shoes that have little wings on them.
Yep.
And another character called Gladiator, who I have no idea who it was, but apparently it's basically like Superman of Marvel. But anyway, so we had a game, and in this particular game, the scenario that we drew out, like when we selected at the start, is basically the one where you can pick up the objectives. It's basically if you hold one of those, you score a point, and you get 1 victory point. It's first to 16. If
Yep.
you hold, in this case, if you held all 3 of them, because it was like a virus sample, if you hold all 3 of them when you're scoring, like on a single character, that character immediately dies, but you score 6 victory points. So basically, we just spent the entire game trying to explode one of our characters, and at one
Right.
point
Okay.
so basically when you get dazed, or which is sort of not dead but half knocked out, or knocked out completely, your opponent gets to take anything they were holding and place it on the ground within a certain range of that character. So basically, we spent like 3 turns of the game. One of us would grab all 3, but then be like almost dead and trying to survive the counter attack, and then that person would die, and then the 3 tokens would spill out, and and instead of, and you could play it tactfully and be like, oh well, I'm going to send 1 token this way and 1 token this way, but what we did just for laughs is every time it happened, we would put all 3 tokens on one spot, so that the temptation was there for someone to blow it up, and we basically changed this full stack of virus tokens backwards and forwards like 5 times, I think, without anyone blowing up. So it was good. We had a great laugh. I actually won the game because I rolled really well and Dave rolled really poorly for a couple of attacks. And yeah, he just ran out of stuff, is what it basically boils down to. But
Yep.
yeah, so it was good fun. But yeah, we just had a laugh trying to explode our own people, which was, yep.
Huh.
Yeah. And then the last game, I don't know if it was just X-Men are popular at the moment, or I just got unlucky, but the last game I played X-Men again. And this one was not Professor X, so he had Cyclops as the leader. I'm sure everyone who's vaguely familiar with X-Men knows who Cyclops is. Shoots a big red
Yep.
laser out of his head. Gambit, another fan favourite to some extent. Colossus, which is the one from Deadpool again. I think he's been in the X-Men movies as well. He turns metal, basically.
Okay.
And then he also had Bishop, who I think was in one of the X-Men movies, but I could be wrong. Yeah, he was. He was in like X-Men 3, one of the spin-off ones. I don't know. He was in one of them. And Rogue, who I always remember for some reason, and I don't know why, but I just associate Rogue with blowing up a VCR. And I think it's just some weird from the animated series back in like the 90s that has stuck with me, where she touches a VCR and it explodes. And as far as I'm concerned, that's her superpower, is exploding old video playing equipment. Anyway,
Right.
uh, yeah, I don't know. Good, really tight game. Like we both, I guess we both sort of wanted wanted to try and finish on a win, and in the end, he was just a bit stronger than I was. So yeah, came out close. I think it was he capped out at 16, and I think I was on 13 or 14. So it was pretty close. But yeah, he ended up just getting slightly ahead of me, mainly because Colossus just kept picking up my characters and throwing them away from objectives, which is annoying. Um, yeah, but no. So in the end, 1 win, 6 losses, which is fine. Had a good time, played some games, and had a good laugh, which was entertaining weekend. And that was
So it obviously plays quite a bit quicker than AOS based on the fact that you played 7 games in a weekend.
yeah. So we did 4 games on the first day, and we were done by like 5:30. So
Yeah.
so and that's the other thing. It's 90-minute rounds, so not 3 hours. 90-minute rounds, and that excludes. So you can set up before that time, but you're not allowed to roll a dice until the round timer starts, and that's part of the tournament system. So there's certain things you can do before, but you can't start rolling until that 90-minute mark. And then once you hit 90 minutes, you just stop and score it exactly as it is then.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So it sounds like you had fun.
Yeah, I did. No, it was good. I certainly won't complain about playing in the event. It was a good weekend. There's only a couple of games that I was like, it wasn't the best, but everyone's really friendly, fun group. We were just having a laugh most of the time, trying to see who could beat up the other person's stuff in the most horrendous ways. So yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you've obviously put a lot of effort. Like you're basically painting models specifically to go play in this event. Talk to me about, because I'm always curious. Like, let me just figure out how I want to say this. So, lots of people talk about GW models being, the best plastics, and they're amazing and whatever. So I'm always kind of curious about models for other games. I've built Malifaux models. I've built Conquest models. I've never built any MCP models, mainly because I'm not a comic book superhero guy, so the game does nothing for me. But what are the models like quality wise, just in terms of like the model itself, building it and that kind of thing?
Yeah, they're definitely different. So there was a shift, and I actually don't know exactly when this happened, but some of the very like original MCP models were not great. The detail, like it's a little bit unfair to compare detail levels, but obviously the newer GW stuff will blow them out of the water. But the detail was a little blurred,
Yep.
and the plastic is quite soft. But they try to pull off really. Not try. They do. To be fair, the models get produced. There's a lot of really fine detail stuff, and when a lot of the time you talk about in GW world, the heroic rock or the hero rock or whatever that someone's sort of standing on, or to give them that different pose. A lot of the time in MCP, the models will be like very much comic book style, like leaping off of an explosion or something like that. So you sometimes get some really fine contact points, and some really fragile stuff. Now, there was a shift, as I said, happened a while back where I think they changed the way they make their models, or they maybe they realize, oh, actually this game's getting real popular, and they sunk more money into it. I don't know. But there's definitely a newer generation of MCP models that are a lot better. And I would vastly prefer to work on them and not the old stuff.
Yep. That makes sense.
That definitely happened. Having said that, they're definitely different. The plastic, I think, is still softer than the GW plastic, which is fine. It's just from me coming from I pretty much just only ever worked with GW stuff because that's what I was into. For me, it when I first started putting the models together, it was definitely a shift. Um, the other thing as well is the assembly instructions, particularly again on some of the older stuff, and the way they've sliced the models leave a great deal to be desired.
Yep.
In this batch for this year, I was going crazy trying to put together Star Lord. His head is in 4 pieces, and I literally mean his head, just his head,
Right.
which is just a baffling decision for me. I don't know why it's in 4 pieces. It is, sure, but it makes it a real pain to actually put together. And sometimes there's some really, I don't know, I call them interesting choices made on how the models go together. But overall, look, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just every now and then you'll run into something that will just sort of leave you scratching your head, going, "What the hell is this? Like, why did you do this?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think it's just like to do with the way that um the models are made? They're 3D modeled up, and they don't have as much experience in engineering sprues or that sort of thing, or
yeah, maybe. Look, possibly. Uh, yeah, I mean, obviously, again, you're comparing it to something like Games Workshop that's been, churning out plastic sprue based models for, oh god, what, probably 25 years. So obviously they have refined and evolved that process, and now extremely good at it. So yeah, there's definitely an experience factor there. Um, Part of it, I guess, as well. I mean, it's funny. So they're making characters that are a little bit more set and they have a background. They obviously have pre-written lore, and I'm sure they have some arrangement with Marvel Studios to pay for all that now. But they're the comic book version, so sometimes what you see in the movies is not what you see uh, in your model. And as I said, you need to detach yourself a little bit from the movies because that's not what they're really drawing upon.
mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes they do, but most of the times they don't. So there's definitely some things that are different. But overall, look, I think they're good models. They look cool. There's definitely some quirks to deal with, but for the most part, they're great. Man. They are, but the characters are what they are, and you can tell who they are, and they look cool. Um, painting. Painting is probably my biggest challenge with them, which sounds odd. So
Yeah,
what?
that was going to
Yeah.
be my next question in
Okay.
terms of painting them. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you've only got 10. So when you put together your roster, I've only got 10 models to work with. So you're not painting an army of 30, 40, 50 more models. Like you are painting 10 characters. So you can invest more time into those 10 characters. Um, for me, the challenge with painting them was, I think my normal style of painting models doesn't work. And what I find is the best looking models that I see floating around are pushing away from a sort of realistic, and what the trap I keep falling into with them is I keep trying to paint them quote unquote realistic, and I think that's a mistake. After getting through the 10 this time, I think where I'm and why I'm struggling with it is you need to lean more into comic book style. And I'm not saying it has to be like cell shaded with those black lines and highlights and whatever.
But just a cartoony, like high contrast kind of.
Yeah, so you got to push the contrast. Don't worry about putting two colors next to each other that would normally be sort of not favorable because it's comic book. and I think the models look better when you aim for that comic book approach to it rather than trying to paint some super realistic. Oh yeah, this is what such and such would look like. So, for example, like Captain America, I took him last year. He was my leader. Um, you know, he's wearing a bright blue bloody spandex muscle suit, whatever, with white patches on it, and then bright red gloves for some reason. It makes zero sense. Like in terms of like, there's no like realistic value to it in terms of like you stand out like a sore thumb, but like it's comic book. You have to paint it that way, and even just like the choices of colors I use, because I just looked at it and went, oh yeah, I'll use a blue, and I dug from a paint drawer and grabbed a blue, and I tended to steer towards more muted colors because I thought it looked more quote unquote realistic.
That's
Um,
it. That is your
mm,
style. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and I think I need to break that habit if I paint more of the stuff, which I probably will next year, to be honest. And go, no, I'm going to use that brighter blue instead. That normally I'd be like, what? No, that doesn't make sense. But in the end result for these models, I think it does look better to lean more into that comic book style for it. Um, yeah, but otherwise, look, it's 10 character models, so you can invest some more time into it. There's no painting enforcement at the event at all. So some people had unpainted models and stuff. That's not me. I wouldn't do unpainted models. As I said, I didn't quite probably finish my models. I would have liked it a little bit more, but um, uh, is what it is. That were fine. Probably more progressed than many other models there because people would just sort of assemble them and stop and go, that's fine. So yeah, there's definitely more work I could have done, but I was happy with how they turned out, and they looked cool when they were all standing around on the table and throwing superpowers and swords and whatever else. It's a whole raft of stuff going on, but yeah, that was good. Um, yeah, I like them. I definitely will happily paint some more of them, and I'd like to give myself more time next time so that I can actually treat them as 10 individual character models. Because I was still
Yeah.
trying to paint all 10 at once, and that's, I think, the other thing I'd do differently as well. Is I had all 10 on the go, and I'm like, I'll do all the silver on all of them now. What I'd like to do is just paint one model start to finish 10 times in a row. Um, which,
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like they would be, especially because they're not similar in any way. They would actually
no,
be really hard to paint all together.
yeah, well, that's the other thing. When I was painting mine this time around, I tried a deliberate choice to use one color across all 10 models in
Yep.
some way, and I think it actually did work. Um, that part did work. What I needed to do though was then steer away from the realistic look for the rest of the model and lean more into that kind of uh, you know comic book style, not realistic. Like Logan, Wolverine runs around in a bright yellow spandex suit. Okay, like
Yeah.
that's gonna look the best when you paint him up, even though you just go, why?
Yeah. Why? What is that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, and particularly for that older stuff, like the X-Men, like they're based on 90s comic, or no, pre-90s comic, but 90s, if anything, like animated series X-Men. So like they're all wearing these like bright, weirdly colored suits and stuff. But that's what makes them look cool when you actually paint them up, not trying to do them realistic, I think. But yeah, that's just me. I found it. That's probably something I need to lean into more if I go again next year. So yeah, but
Yep.
no, overall they're good. I like them.
Cool. Yeah. I'd often wondered about how different they would be to paint, and just especially for somebody like yourself who has a fairly realistic, muted painting style. Um, that yeah, how you would adapt to painting something that's quite so flashy probably isn't the word, but just sort of out there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
it was definitely a challenge, and something I said if I go next year, I'll have to revise my approach a little bit. I think, but Yeah.
What scale are the minis? Like, how big are they?
Oh, well, let's have a look. So they're
This is
probably I think they're probably even, I guess. So they're probably heroic scale, like 32. Again, I think there's been a little bit of a shift. So some of the older models, I swear, are smaller, like original series stuff, like original Black Widow, or even one of the original Iron Mans is quite slim compared to let me see, like a Winter Soldier. He's probably bigger than an Iron Man, which isn't really how this works. But yeah, so they're probably intended to be roughly that scale. And there's definitely some scale issues in the game. Not issues, but there's considerations made for the fact that they're trying to play it on tabletop. So there's like, for example, Dormammu, who's from the first Doctor Strange movie, who's like that interdimensional god that's probably 50 meters tall or something. Like, he's a character in the game, and obviously he can't be that big.
can't be
So
that scale. Yeah.
yeah, so they have to play around with it every now and then. But no, the scale I would say is intended to be heroic 32, so similar to what GW is aiming for. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. Cool. I will like not not a comic book guy, not really into it, but there are some models like the Man Thing model that I mentioned earlier that I'm like, maybe like it's removed enough that I could probably paint it
yeah,
and not have to worry. Like, I want to paint that model for that model rather than it being Captain America or whatever. I'm sure there's some others like that. I'd probably paint Blade because I like Blade.
yep, he's in
That's
there.
that's about as comic book movie ish as I get,
Yep.
and even it's not very like it's obviously not
No,
modern Marvel.
that was made in a different time of movies.
I know
Yeah,
when it was good, but anyway, uh, but yeah, like it's I'd probably pick that up. But yeah, no, I'm looking. I've just brought up that Man Thing again on Insta, and I'm like, maybe I should see if my local has that,
yeah. And the other
if
good
they've
thing
got
as
a.
well, I mean, obviously only needing 10 models, it's a lot cheaper to put together an army. But usually, if you're buying a particular affiliation, you can get like an affiliation pack that's got like sort of 4 fairly core models in it. Usually for like, unless again like nobody I know buys directly from GW. You go through a third party stockist. And sales and stuff do pop up from even places like Amazon and some really weird places that have MCP stuff on sale as well. Like, so there was one online when I was looking for stuff. When I was looking for models I needed last year, what was it? It was like a computer store, like literally like computer parts store that for some reason also sold MCP. And I was like, either I'm about to get scammed or I'm getting a cheap model. And it worked, and they sent me a model. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
So there's weird stockists for it, but yeah, I mean, you can put together a roster of 10 models for a couple $100. That's you know, 10 character models. Like, you'd probably get 3 character models for $200 in Age of Sigmar. But yeah, so it's not terribly expensive to get into. And part of it for me is obviously my kids both enjoy it from their experience playing like Lego Avengers and stuff on the PlayStation. So last year they got to pick some specific characters. So one of my sons said they wanted me to take Spawn, so I did, and the other one said they wanted to take Hulk, so I did. And when they're a little bit older and can grasp the rules a little bit more, we'll be able to throw some superheroes onto a table and run around and have fun. So from that point of view, I think it's good value as well.
yeah. I have
Entertaining.
heard that the gameplay is quite cinematic. You can throw people into cars and do sort of
Yeah, you
crazy
can.
stuff like that.
Yeah, so all the terrain on the table is destructible, essentially. You can, I think the largest stuff isn't, I don't know who could do it, but like Hulk can like literally pick up a truck, like a garbage truck, and like throw it at another character, and then they get crushed by a truck. So yeah, you can throw terrain and stuff around, and you throw people into buildings and into each other. You can throw a character into another character. So there's a lot of there is a lot of cinematic sort of stuff that happens, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. I know. Well, thank you for running me and also the audience through that. They may not have had too much exposure to it, or they're sitting here going, "Yes, finally, the Herald's guys are talking about a game that I like," depending on which part of the audience they are. But yes, no, I've often seen it around, know a little bit about it, but it was good to get your takes on it, especially the sort of hobby side of it, because that's, after all, a big part of what we are.
Yep. Yeah, and look, if superheroes aren't your thing, the game's probably not going to be your thing, right? But it's a fun game. You can knock out a game in, like I said, an hour and a half comfortably. I've played a few games here and there over the years just with mates. Just a couple of beverages, and it's good fun. So it's a nice casual game, but it obviously also has a strong tournament aspect to it as well. So I think it's accessible for multiple reasons, which is good.
Excellent. Well, I think we probably leave this month's episode there for now. I have down here in our planner for March that we might talk about how we plan our hobby projects, seeing as you're basically thinking about Necromunda and your Age of Sigmar project for the year.
Yeah. What we could do. What if we did a double run through on our Age of Sigmar projects? And I know you talked a little bit about yours at the start, but you kind of just talked about the outcome there, not how you got to it. And then I could talk about mine as well.
Yeah, cool. I should probably have some painted stuff finished by then. I'm hoping to take this to an event in mid to late March.
Okay. Well, hopefully you've definitely got stuff painted by then.
Yeah. It's not hobby enforced.
Yep.
But I don't think I've ever taken an incomplete project to an event, no matter the hobby level. So yes. So yeah, we'll be back next month with a chat about how we plan our projects, and probably some diagrams or and some photos and bits and pieces that we've taken, and a bit more info on how we get things, and I'll talk about my kit bashing approach and things like that as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. You can talk about your kit bashing approach, and I'll talk about my extremely neurotic way of organising and assembling armies. It's good.
Cool. Yep. Excellent. Playing into our strengths.
Yep.
Righto. Well, until next time, folks, we will catch you then.